was 19 years old when a stranger decided I shouldn't exist anymore. It wasn't a dangerous night. That's the part that still haunts me. It was an ordinary evening, no rain, no fog, no warning signs from the universe. I had just finished my shift and took the long way home because I liked the quiet. The streets were half-lit, familiar enough that I didn't feel afraid. At 19, you believe bad things happen to other people. Notice him only because he was walking too slowly. He was behind me, maybe 30 feet back, hands in his jacket pockets. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. We shared a sidewalk. That's normal. But every time I crossed the street, he crossed too. When I slowed down, so did he. I reached for my phone and pretended to scroll just to check the reflection in the screen. That's when my stomach dropped. He was closer now. I sped up. My heart started to beat faster, not panic yet, just instinct. Kind of warning your body gives you before your mind catches up. I turned onto a narrower street, hoping he'd keep going straight. He didn't. That's when he spoke for the first time. Hey, just one word, calm, almost polite. I didn't answer. I told myself not to run. People say don't run. Running makes you look weak. But when his footsteps quickened, my body made the decision for me. I ran. The sound behind me changed immediately, no hesitation, no confusion. He was ready, like he'd been waiting for that exact moment. I could hear his breathing now, close, too close. Then his hand grabbed my jacket. The world narrowed to noise and motion and fear so sharp it felt physical. I screamed once short and useless before he yanked me backward, dragging me toward the shadow between two buildings. That was when I saw the knife, not big, not dramatic, just real. I understood something with terrifying clarity. This wasn't a robbery. This wasn't a mistake. He meant to kill me. The knife wasn't shaking in his hand. That detail matters. People imagine killers as frantic or angry, but he was calm, methodical. Like this was routine. Like he'd done it before, or at least rehearsed it enough that my fear didn't affect him. He pressed the blade against my ribs, not hard enough to cut, just enough to promise what would happen if I fought. Don't scream, he said quietly. My mind tried to disconnect, to turn the moment into something distant, like watching a movie instead of living it. He asked my name. I lied. Why? But it felt important. Like giving him my real name would make me more real to him. Like it would give him ownership over me. He smiled when I answered. That smile was worse than the knife. He told me to sit. I didn't move fast enough, so he shoved me down. My palm scraped against the ground. Pain flared, sharp and grounding. That pain saved me. It snapped something loose in my head. I realized this was it, no rescue, no miracle interruption. If I stayed still, I would die here and no one would know how hard I tried. I started talking, I begged. I promised money. I said I wouldn't tell anyone. I said anything my brain could grab onto, words tumbling over each other, desperate and messy. He didn't respond. Instead, he crouched down to my level. That's when I noticed his eyes weren't on my face, they were on my throat. I moved without thinking. I kicked. My heel caught his knee, not hard enough to break it, but enough to surprise him. The knife slipped just a little, scraping my jacket instead of my skin. That was my opening. I screamed again, louder this time. Not words, just noise. He swore, suddenly angry, suddenly human. He grabbed my hair and pulled my head back, lifting the knife higher. I remember thinking very clearly, if I don't move right now, I won't ever move again. People talk about fight or flight, but there's a third thing that happens in moments like this: clarity. Time slowed. The fear didn't disappear, but it sharpened. Every sound, every movement felt louder, brighter, more urgent. I went for his eyes, not because I was trained, not because I was brave, because I remembered someone once saying, eyes, throat, groin. That was it. That was my plan. My fingers hit his face, clumsy and desperate. He yelled and pulled back just enough for the knife to miss me by inches. I didn't stop. I bit him hard. I tasted blood, metallic and warm, and he screamed in real pain this time. Not controlled, not quiet. Instinct took over for him the way it had for me. He let go. I didn't look back. I ran. I I don't remember my feet hitting the ground, only the sound of my breath tearing out of my chest. The alley blurred behind me as I burst back onto the street, screaming for help, waving my arms like a lunatic. Lights turned on. A door opened. Someone shouted. I collapsed on the sidewalk. Hands touched my shoulders. Voices overlapped. Someone wrapped a jacket around me even though I wasn't cold. The police arrived fast, too fast for my brain to process. I tried to explain, but my words came out broken, tangled with sobs and shock. They searched the area. They didn't find him. That's another detail people don't like. There was no dramatic arrest, no closure, no face on the evening news, just a report, a description, a case number. At the hospital, they cleaned my scraped hands and checked for cuts. The doctor told me I was lucky. I didn't feel lucky. I felt hollow. Night when I finally lay in my bed, I didn't sleep. Every shadow looked like him. Every sound made my heart race. I kept thinking about his calm voice, about the knife, about how close I came to disappearing. I understood something terrifying and permanent. I survived, but I would never be the same person who walked home that night again. People think surviving is the ending. It's not. It's the beginning of a different kind of fear. For weeks after the attack, I couldn't walk alone. I avoided that street entirely, even during the day. I jumped at footsteps behind me. I checked locks 3 times. Sleep came in short, restless fragments. The police called once, then never again. No updates, no suspect. He was still out there. That thought followed me everywhere. On buses, in grocery stores, in crowds where any stranger could be him with a different jacket, a different face. I blamed myself constantly. Why did I take that route? Why didn't I notice sooner? Why didn't I fight harder? Survivor guilt doesn't always make sense. I was alive, but my brain kept punishing me like I'd done something wrong. The scar on my palm healed quickly. The rest didn't. I started therapy after my hands began shaking randomly, even in safe places. My therapist told me what I felt was normal. Trauma rewires your body, she said. Your nervous system doesn't forget just because the danger is gone. Some nights, I still hear his voice in my head, quiet, calm, certain. But I also hear my own scream, and that matters. I learned that survival isn't about being fearless. It's about acting even when fear is screaming louder than reason. It's about choosing yourself in a moment where the world tries to erase you. I don't know who he was. Don't know if he ever hurt someone else. That uncertainty is something I carry. But I also carry something stronger. I carry proof that I fought back. I'm telling this story not because I'm special. I'm telling it because I'm ordinary. I was 19. I was tired. I was just trying to get home. And that's the point. Violence doesn't announce itself with warnings or dramatic music. Sometimes it arrives quietly, in familiar places, on nights that feel forgettable. If you're listening to this, understand something important. Your instincts matter. Your fear has a purpose. Your survival is worth fighting for. I didn't win because I was stronger. I survived because I refused to disappear quietly. And if you ever find yourself in a moment where everything feels lost, remember this: you are allowed to fight. You are allowed to scream. You are allowed to live.